Alright, so on this video we'll go through simultaneous equation. Basically we're gonna first look at linear equations and also look at quadratic equations. Basically I'll have one linear equation, and then the following example will have one linear equation and one quadratic equation. Alright, let's first start with two linear equations. Let's say we want to solve for x, and now we're given two linear functions with two unknown variables. Here's an example of that. Let's say equation 1 is 2x plus 1y equal to 3. That's our first equation right there. Our second equation, let's say we've got 3x plus, let's just add something else, minus 2y equal to 1. Actually, these are equations just from the top of my head. I don't know if we're gonna get values that don't have commas in them. Sorry about that. So what we can do, first thing that you need to do, you look at you look at your equations. What you then do is to take from one equation, choose one variable. From one of these equations, choose one variable that you will make the what do you call it, the subject of the formula. You can put it like that. So in this, for example, let's take equation 1 and let's say, okay, now we want to make y the subject of the formula from equation 1. So we can just write y equal to 3 minus 2x. So now you know y is equal to 3 minus 2x. So this is actually from equation 1. This is from equation 1. So what we can then do is that we can take this y function right here and substitute it on the second equation. So everywhere where we've got y, we put this constant in there. Let's do this. So we've got 3x on the second equation equal to minus 2y, but for y we put that because we know from the first equation that y is actually equal to this part, 3 minus y. So what are you actually doing right now? The reason why we're doing this, now we've got one equation that has one unknown. So you can see that the only unknown now here is x. So now it's easy to solve an equation that has one unknown in it. So that's why we were doing what we did. That's why we had to choose one of the equation, find what y is, and then take that y and substitute it on the other equation. You don't substitute it on the same equation, you substitute it on the other equation. So now we, oh sorry, I think it should be minus there. I don't know why I have. I hope you did notice that there should be just minus, you know, not an equal sign. All right, so what you can then do, you can multiply everything out. You've got 3x minus 6 plus 4x equal to 1. Therefore you can see this is a linear equation right here. So we basically add all the like terms. You've got 7x, and here we take this 6 and put it on the other side of the equal sign, equal to 7. Then x is equal to 1. Look at that. I thought we were gonna get something like 1 point something or a fraction. So now we know what x is. X is equal to 1. So we've solved for 1. Therefore now we just need to solve for the other equation for y. So now for y, we can actually substitute on this equation, find what y is, or on that equation, find what y is, or easy, you can just plug it in there because you already have that. So if you plug it on this equation here, on this one right here, you can see that y is equal to 3 minus 2 times 1 because x is equal to 1. So y is also equal to 1. Or let's just do it. Y is equal to 3 minus 2x. I keep forgetting about this part. Y equal to 3 minus 2x, and we know that x is equal to 1, so we can just substitute that. Y equal to 3 minus minus 2 1, which is equal to 1. Therefore x equal to 1 and y equal to 1. You solved both your linear equations and the x value is 1. So that's how you go about solving a linear equation. You just first make x the subject of the formula, or y, and by looking at any of the equations that you have, and then from that you substitute that function for y or for x that you got to the other equation that you didn't use to make that you didn't use to make any of the variables the subject of the formula. And then you solve for x, and then you can, or y, and then you just take that variable and substitute back to one of the equations to solve for the other variable that you don't know. So in our case, we took equation 1, we make y the subject of the formula. Once we got that y, we substitute that to equation 2. You don't substitute it back to equation 1, you substitute to equation 2. Or if you had used equation 2 to make y the subject of the formula, we will substitute that y into equation 1. You see? But in our case, we used equation 1, so we substitute into equation 2 the y function, and then after that we solve for x, because now we have a linear equation with only one unknown. Then once we get what x is, then we substitute back into one of the equations and solved for x. All right, so now let's look at the same thing, simultaneous equation, when there's now what a quadratic equation. In this case, this it's still the same thing, to be honest. There's nothing changes, completely nothing. It's just that now you have a quadratic equation. Let's make a quick example right now. So we've got 2x plus y equal to 1. I don't know what's happening on the screen, my screen there. Now I have to write a bit far from what I want. Equal to 1, and the other one is x squared plus y equal to, let's say, 4. Let's hope this one will also be able, it will be easy to solve this one as well. Okay, so now what do we do in this kind of equation? In this kind of equation, we actually do the same thing. We call this equation 1, call this equation 2. We do the same thing. We just make y the subject of the formula, or x the subject of the formula. We substitute it into the other equation and we solved. So let's do the first one. And the first one we've got, okay, let's do the same thing. Let's make y the subject of the formula there, because it's quite easy to make y. You don't have to do anything, you just move things across the equal sign, y minus 2x. So now that's y. So now we can substitute that function on equation 2. So now we've got x squared plus, in place of y you substitute 1 minus 2x equal to 4. And what else do we do? X squared minus 2x, then this moves beyond the equal sign, and we have minus 4 plus 1, then that gives us minus 3 equal to 0. Now what is that? That looks like a quadratic equation which we can factorize and find factors of. So let's go straight and try to factorize that. So when you factorize that, we've got x. The constant is minus 3, which means our sign won't be the same. At moment, we're going to have positive and negative. And then we're looking for factors of 3, but when we subtract, they give us 2. That's 3 and 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. But now, the sign of the middle term is negative. Right there, it's negative. So the bigger factor needs to go to that negative. So 3 and 1. So our x values is, I'm just going to write them here, x. I'm going to write this one. No. Write them in there. So x equal to minus 1 or x equal to 3. So those are our x values. So now that we have these x values, we need to know what the y is. So we can substitute these x on this equation, that equation, or that equation. So let's choose the third one, this one, because y is already been written in the nice form there. Okay, so let's just remember that x is equal to minus 1 or 3, and y is equal to 1 minus 2x, and x is equal to minus 1 or 3. Is equal to 3. 3. So we substitute for, let's first test minus 1. So if we put minus 1, y is equal to 1 minus 2 times minus 1, then y, and that is equal to 3. Then we also test for y equal to 3 minus 2 times 3, that gives us minus 6 plus 1 minus 5. Therefore x is equal to minus 1 and y equal to 3, or x is equal to 3 and y equal to minus 5. So that's basically how you go about solving simultaneous equation with quadratic equation on them. So it's quite simple. It's always one of the it's not challenging. It's not challenging, to be honest. It's not. You just have to be smart about it. You just have to try and avoid substituting things. Or basically, if you have x squared on your function, just try not to substitute anything on that x squared. But even if you do, you're gonna get the same answer. It's not gonna be a problem. It just might take you 1 or 2 more steps. But other than that, it's just the same process, guys. You make from your 2 equations, you take one and make x or y the substitute the formula. Once you do that, you substitute into the equation that you didn't use to make that y or x the substitute formula. Then you solve for one variable, and then once you do that, you take whatever values you get for x and y, and then you substitute them back into one of the equation to actually solve for x and y. So I usually prefer to use the equation that I used for that I use to make y the substitute formula, because it's always easy to substitute on it. So that's basically how you do it. I hope you do learn, and if you have any questions, just talk on my leave a message on my website, and I'll get back to you. And that's it. Thank you.